It's extraordinary to think that just last week, President Trump was trading angry comments on social media with Dmitry Medvedev, the former president of Russia, and moved nuclear submarines closer to Russia.
According to the New York Times, Donald Trump has signalled that he intends to meet in person with Vladimir Putin as soon as next week. He plans to follow up shortly afterwards with a meeting between himself, Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin and Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine. This was apparently disclosed in a call that Trump had with Zelensky this evening with other European leaders, including Keir Starmer, the German Chancellor, the NATO Secretary General and other senior US officials. Elizabeth Braw is Senior Fellow at the Atlantic Council. Elizabeth, this looks like some momentum gathering as a result of this meeting between Steve Witkoff and Vladimir Putin today. Give me your reaction.
It does. And it's extraordinary to think that just last week, President Trump was trading angry comments on social media with Dmitry Medvedev, the former president of Russia, and moved nuclear submarines closer to Russia. And now we will apparently have a meeting between Trump and Steve Witkoff appears to have been successful. Of course, any meeting with Putin is tricky because he has been around for a long time. He's a skilled tactician, and he is also somebody who has seen a lot of Western leaders come and go. He knows the game, and he has had several meetings, several conversations where he sort of held up the prospect of ceasefire negotiations, even peace negotiations, and then nothing came of it. So a bit of realism may be useful to add to that mix.
Our correspondent in Kyiv was saying that actually when you talk about the big differences in who wants what at the end of this war, potentially, both Russia and Ukraine are quite far apart. But Ukraine have approached this from the point of trying to get a 30-day ceasefire first and foremost, trying to get the on the ground, the air action finished temporarily so that they can sort out the finer details of it. And that has been a sticking point for Vladimir Putin. We've also seen, of course, the implementation of trade tariffs on nations that trade with Russia. India have had an extra 25% trade tariff applied to them today. It does feel like the screws are turning, doesn't it? I suppose it just depends. Will Vladimir Putin go for a ceasefire, even though the sort of bigger, uglier parts of ending this war may not be resolved?
Yes, I think he crossed the Rubicon long ago of wanting to be friends with the Western community and even the wider global community. He feels very strongly about Ukraine. He's obsessed with Ukraine. And so he was willing to risk a great deal to invade Ukraine. And he didn't change his mind when it started going badly, and hasn't been going all that well in these 3.5 years since the invasion. So he may not be minded to be particularly conciliatory in these talks. But nevertheless, the talks are taking place. I think what would be really useful would be if skilled negotiators were part of this team on the American side. We don't know who will join.
Are you saying that Donald Trump is not a skilled negotiator, Elizabeth Braw?
Well, he's a skilled business negotiator.
He's a deal maker.
He's a deal maker, but he is, by his own admission, new to the game of diplomacy. And it is a skill you have to learn, just like any other skill, by the way, also like the skill of real estate development. And he has also admitted that he went wrong, or he didn't quite understand the complexities of trying to negotiate a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. And Russia-Ukraine ceasefire is almost as complex as trying to negotiate something in the Middle East. So my humble suggestion would be to invite skilled negotiators who represent organizations that specialize in this, and specifically Norway is a unique country in that it focuses on, or its diplomats are extremely skilled in international negotiations for the greater good of the global community. The same thing with the Vatican. There are some really skilled negotiators there, and Steve Witkoff would be well served if he were to invite a couple of them.
Yeah, I mean, he's proving to be very useful. A man of all ceasefires, Steve Witkoff. I'm sure that's how he's being billed. Look, we actually wanted to speak to you too about a story coming out of Lithuania, France. Elizabeth Braw. And this is that they've called on NATO for help because 2 military drones have crossed into Lithuania from Belarus within the last month. It was thought they were intended for Ukraine. But here we have a nation extremely worried about, well, being caught in a type of crossfire, I suppose. Just talk us through this and whether and how NATO can support Lithuania.
Well, this is the classic case of harm being visited on a NATO member state, but below the threshold of a military attack. So it's clear that these 2 drones, Russian drones, have landed in Lithuania, and that is concerning. It's not nothing, but it's not a military attack, and so it's that great zone between war and peace. It's that in between no man's land where Lithuania is rightly concerned, but it's not a military attack of the kind for which NATO was set up. That NATO was set up to respond to. Lithuania has asked NATO to do something, or has contacted NATO, but what NATO can do is less clear, and it's not the first situation of its kind. So we had, for example, in Poland just a few months ago, last year, one of the migrants that have been brought to the Lithuanian border by Belarus to destabilize Poland lunged a knife through the border fence that Poland has built to keep this migrant wave out. And he killed a border guard. And that raises a question, was that an armed attack on Poland? A border guard, a soldier, was indisputably killed, and it was with hostile intent, but it's not a NATO, the sort of attack that NATO is set up to defend Poland or any other member state against. And that's what Lithuania is experiencing now too.
Well, look, we will keep an eye on that. Thank you for being with us. Really appreciated. Elizabeth Braw, Senior Fellow at the Atlantic Council.